Yeah, man, Summer Purples, my name is Bless Beats, Sonicware. What is going on? We have a whole army out there of these little LIVEN machines right now. The latest one out to date is the Textura Lab. Let's check them out. Textura Lab comes wrapped in a box like this, just like the other LIVEN machines, neatly packaged with some nice black foam right there. Thank you. Fiber cloth comes off easily, and we have this new beauty right here. We have a new color scheme on the back for this one, babies. I would love to know the pantomime colors code for this. Oh yeah, and it runs on 6 AA batteries. As you can see, if you're familiar with the other LIVEN machines, you are also familiar with this interface. Of course, the knobs are different on this one. All themed after the purpose of granular synthesis. Let me make it sweet. Scroll here so you can see for yourself. The feel of both the keys, the knobs, and the buttons are all identical to any of the other LIVEN machines. Semi-cheap, but does the trick. This is one of the drawbacks to me because for me, it's all about pushing the buttons. I want a nice experience. All right, looking good, looking good. Now, where to start with a machine like this? A good way to start exploring the Textura Lab is by initializing it to these settings right about around here. We have the cutoff of the filter all the way up, the shimmer all the way down, the blend, very important, all the way to the left, so we only hear the sample. Speed dial, you can keep it in the middle, so we have it at original speed. The length, turn it all the way to the right, so we get the full length of the sample, and we also need to set the position all the way to the left. This is essentially the start and end point of the sample that we're going to be working with. So now when we press a key, we'll be playing it throughout. You can use this knob right here to browse through the samples.
She said,
I believe we have Mr. Chris Lodi himself right about around here.
She said, put down the gun if you don't want to lose your head. Start now and then gently.
So now we're just playing back the original sample, right? You can change the pitch of it.
She said, put down the gun if you don't want to lose your head. Start now and then gently. She said,
the speed of it, which is essentially the same thing, set up like this.
She said, put down the gun if you don't want to lose your head. She said, put down the gun if you don't want to lose.
And now using the start and end positions of the sample, we can grab a portion that we want to start messing around with.
She said, put down the gun if you don't want to lose your head. Start now and then gently.
So I wanted to start from there. I wanted to end.
Lose your head, start now. Lose your head, lose your head, lose your head.
So now we only have that part looping. You can also set the actual start and end points of the sample by holding function and pressing start and end right here. But I would advise against that because right now you're in trouble if you press start one too many times. See here? I put the start point all the way at the end. I changed my mind. I want to go back. I twist the value knob to go back, and this is going to take me about 10 minutes just to get to the start of the sample. I don't know, I might be doing something wrong, but I just don't touch that. I just use position and length. As with any LIVEN machine, the shift is for the alternative functions of the knobs, and the function is for the alternative functions of the buttons. Next, you can hold the shift knob and change the direction of it. This is the playback direction. Right now it's going forward, forward. Let's do a ping pong thing instead.
Horse, you will lose your horse, you will lose your horse, you will...
That's right, You Will Lose a Horse. That is definitely a song. I'm going to top this video off. We can introduce some shimmer.
Horse, you will lose your horse, you will
and if you
lose
don't
your...
hear anything, that's because we need to go into the alternative function of mix and turn the mix of the shimmer up.
Horse, you will lose your 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 horse, you...
Next, we'll explore this blend knob right here because the more we twist it to the right, the more we are introducing the grain engine.
Horse, you will lose your horse, you will...
You can set the size and shape of the grain with this one, timing and jitter of the grain with this, the density of the grain, the diffusion, and these two knobs and these two knobs are also to control the rate and depth of the two different modulators, which I'll show you in a bit. If you want to hear just the grain, you can twist the blend knob all the way to the right. Fiddle with the grain size here and have the blend all the way to the right. You can also start experimenting a bit with the speed, sort of like Mr. Sample does, you know what I'm saying, with some now essentially you're time stretching it. Original speed. Slow it down. Speed it up. Another cool thing is the freeze function. As you can see, you can get some very interesting textures from this thing. I'm just going over this thing very briefly. For more in-depth tutorials, check out Chris Lodi's channel. Sequencing on this thing works like the other LIVEN Maschines. You can check out the Lo-Fi 12 video I made, the review, that has a pretty in-depth explanation of how to sequence things. Some nice sample manipulation basics there, but let's have a look-see at how to modulate all the different parameters on it. Right here and right here are your two different modulators. So holding down function and pressing shape, you'll select the shape of the first modulator, which is a sine wave right now. We can press assign and then use the value knob to choose what to assign this modulator to. For example, the pitch. There we have it. And like I mentioned earlier, for modulator 1, we have the rate and depth as alternative functions on these two knobs. So we'll use the shift button, bump up the rate. And the pitch in this case, it's affecting the sample, so in turn it will affect both the original sample and the grains it's picking up from it. Try something else. The shape of the grain. All that from some horse. Let's assign the second modulator to something. Maybe the position, that should make it a little bit more animated. Rate and depth of the second modulator over here. Let's change the shape to a random in here. Very interesting. It really is a laboratory, and you can just play around with these settings here, come up with something that strikes you as rather interesting, you know what I'm saying? Yet another cool thing about the Textura Lab is you can grab grains from a live input. We're not going to do that in this video, but let's have a look at how to sample your own sounds and fucks with them. Sampling something yourself is as easy as plugging in an external device or other input source into the line in, holding function, pressing sampling, and whenever you're ready, hit record. You got 6 seconds to work with. you're happy with it, press OK. Select which slot you want to save it to. Maybe an empty one, for example. Press OK. Saving. And now we have to locate that sound. Now I picked a pretty short length here, and the length is always relative to the position. So even if this is sort of your start and end points, if you move the position where the sample starts, it's going to have the same length. So you can scrub it throughout the sample. And let's modulate that. Assign the first modulator to position and set it to pretty deep, and then just set up the speed of it.
You lose your heart, 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 you lose your heart.
You're fucking with the quickest six shooter in the West. I'm going up against your horse with a loaded Smith & West. You better pace your hooves, no foul play in the showdown. Meet me at high noon on the main street in the middle of town. Let's go. Hey, I like to mangle samples. Check out my plugin, Mr. Sample. And if I were to pick one of the LIVEN machines, I would go for this one, honestly, because it's the most unique one with what it does. You can come up with interesting, unknown sounds to the ears of mankind, you know what I'm saying? Decent price, it's a fun standalone synthesizer. 3.5 out of 5 amazing. Okay, bye-bye.